In today's lesson, we will be estimating slope. We will learn about positive, negative, zero, and undefined slopes. By the end of the lesson, we will be able to look at graphs of lines and be able to identify which slope the line has. The academic language of this lesson includes slope, positive slope, negative slope, zero slope, and undefined slope. We will use these words to describe the slopes of given lines and evaluate models of functions. Before we begin, we need to have a basic understanding of what slope is. In order to do this, we need to graph a line. So we'll go up to the Graph tab and select Define Coordinate System. Now with our coordinate system in place, we can go over to the Straight Edge tool and select the line segment. Now you can make a line with any 2 points, as you can see here, although I don't really like that line. I'm going to use the points 0, 5 and 5, 0. So now that we have a line, we can begin to look at what the definition of a slope is. The slope is the rise over the run, the change in y over the change in x. So with our segment tool, we can see the change in y in these values and the change in x in these values. To make this clearer, I'm going to change the lines by right-clicking on the lines and changing the colors. Make that green and this one purple. So we can see that from between these 2 points, and again, you can choose any 2 points, I've just chosen these two, that the rise, or the change in y, has changed from 5 to 0, or looking at it this way, 5 to 0, and the run, or the change in x, has changed from 0 to 5. Notice that I'm reading the graph from left to right, and that's exactly how graphs are read, just like reading, left to right. So first we're going to look at the positive slope. So we have our line here, as you can see, and here we have our y values. This green line represents the change in y, and here we have our x values that represent the change in x between the 2 points that I have chosen. And now we're going to calculate the slope. Again, you don't have to know how to do this part exactly, but it's going to help illustrate our point. We use our formula of the change in y over the change in x to calculate that the slope of this line is positive 1, because in the y values we go from negative 5 to positive 5, and so we subtract in the opposite manner. 5 minus negative 5, which is 10, and for the x values we go from negative 5 to 5. So we again subtract in the other way. 5 minus negative 5, which is also 10. So as you can see, going from left to right on this graph, it is increasing, which is characteristic of a positive slope from left to right. Another important thing is that positive slopes lean to the right. Now we're going to look at the negative slope. We've already constructed a line and the lines that show us the y values here and the x values here. So just like in the last slide, we're going to calculate the slope. And we can see here that our y values go from left to right, from positive 5 to negative 5. And our x values go from negative 5 to positive 5. This gives us a slope of negative 1. Also, looking from this graph from left to right, we can see that it is decreasing as it goes along. And this is characteristic of a negative slope. We can also note that this graph is leaning to the left, and this is what a negative slope looks like. Now we're going to look at a line with a slope of 0. So like we had before, we're going to use these 2 points, which I've chosen arbitrarily, to calculate the slope. So as we can see, the y values didn't change, so the change in y is 0. However, the x values did change, they changed a total of -4 in value. But that doesn't actually matter, because with a 0 in the numerator, the answer is always 0. So our slope of this line is 0. Now if you look at this line from left to right, you can see that it neither increases nor decreases, and that is characteristic of a line with a slope of 0. You can also note that this line is horizontal, like the horizon, as if you were looking into a beautiful sunset. That is a line of slope 0. Now we're going to look at a line with a slope that's undefined. And again, I have chosen 2 arbitrary points, and we're going to use these points to calculate the slope. So as we can see, the y values changed from -2 to 2 in value -4. However, the x values didn't change in value 0. However, a very important math rule that will follow you all of your life is that you cannot divide by 0, and because of this, the slope of this line is undefined. So again, if we follow this line from left to right, even though that's really hard to do, we can see that it's neither increasing nor decreasing. And further, we can observe that this line is vertical, and this is what an undefined slope looks like. Now that we've learned how to identify whether a line has a slope that is positive, negative, 0, or undefined, we need to use this knowledge. So in this activity, Lil Frosty wants to go skiing on the blue square slope, but he doesn't know which one that is, so we need to help him match the slopes. Let's look first at slope A. Which slope is this? That's right. It's the blue square, the positive slope, increasing from left to right. Now let's look at slope B. Which slope is this? That's right. It's the black diamond, undefined, or a cliff. So we hope Frosty doesn't choose this one. Now let's look at slope C. Which slope is this one? That's right. It's the green circle, a slope of 0. Now let's look at slope D. Which slope is this one? That's right. It's the negative slope, the orange triangle. Great job. Well, that's all for today. Happy mathing!
This triangle and an adjacent side to the angle 35.638 degrees. We also want to make sure we remember this little distance here to the ending platform, because it's 14 feet and it will come in handy. And it will be important when we find our final answer.
Now, let's try another problem.
Typo. I thought I preferred it ends at a platform in a tree. That is 700 feet. Okay, cool.
I messed up. We will learn what a positive, negative, 0, and undefined slope are, and be able to identify them by looking at the lines on a graph. I'm redoing this. Oh gosh. We will investigate positive, negative, 0, and undefined slopes, and we will learn how to identify a line. Dang it! I'm doing so good!
Oh no!
Oh, oops, I got kissed. So we need to help him match the slopes. We're going to start with slope A, over here. What slope is this? That's right. This is the blue square. It is a positive slope. It leans to the right as you go from left to right. Now let's look at the other slopes. Let's look at slope B. Which slope is this? I'm stopping because I'm pissed.